to start off with talking about, again, we're going through a period of change for the firehouse, but with Ritter specifically, it's kind of bittersweet. We had to let him go, but we now that he's coming back. What does that mean for both of you? I mean, Andrea's a writer, that's an interesting arc to do, but Christian also for Mouch. I mean, that's his boy. That's the guy he mentored and watched grow up. So what is that arc like for the two of you?
You want to go? You want me to go?
You go.
I'll go. I think the gift of having, 14 years and having the scope of the show that we have is getting to see characters evolve and grow and where that takes them. And I feel like the fact that when we've talked about this for Mouch is just an arc, the first episode being the guy who's on the ropes and might not make it much further to becoming a lieutenant. And for Ritter, he was the guy clinging to the banister, not sure he could, certainly not expecting he was going to be a firefighter from there, just wanting to survive in that moment. And it was Mouch that pulled him off the banister and brought him into the firehouse. And watching Ritter become the firefighter that he was, become the friend that he became to so many people in that firehouse, with Mouch as a mentor all along the way. But at the end of the day, what he was looking for the most in his life was a relationship and was, finding love. And so when that happened, it felt like the right way to send him off. So I feel like he's certainly always going to be a part of this firehouse, and we'll see him again. But that story has been set up and put on that track for a while now. And the thing about 51 is they are all the friendships are so profound, and nobody wants anybody else to leave. It's always like, don't go. But underneath it is, we're your platform to go wherever you want. Yeah. And that's been true for so many of the characters on the show. We send them off with all the support and wind at their back that they could ever want. But it's bittersweet, man. It is always hard.
He's one of the best actors I've ever worked with.
He's phenomenal.
And what he brought to the show is self-evident, but what you don't see, who he was to us between the takes, behind the scenes, one of the most thoughtful and lovable and funniest and smartest and insightful and mature young men I've ever worked with.
It's funny because Ritter, whenever you're in post and there's a moment happening and you want reactions from the group, it was always Daniel that you'd go to, because he was always in the scene 1,000%.
Yep. And his
Ritter was
always
there. His expressions, he could do so much with just one look and you're crying or you're laughing he really a true talent. And Ritter, beloved both as a character and an actor.
Christian Herman has stepping back this season as chief, and Mouch is stepping up to take over as an officer spot, and that might cause a little bit of friction between these fronts. How does that sort of affect them and their friendship?
Yeah, I there is a feeling that Herman might have gotten a little ahead of himself with that offer he made, and that maybe he didn't think it all the way through. But here we are. And we are playing the hand we've been dealt, and it is complicated. And that's kind of what I love about it, is the transition. In some sense, it's an easy transition for a 40-year veteran of the CFD to find himself an officer. Well, he's been paying attention over the years to some excellent officers who really knew what they were doing. And it turns out, whether he thinks so or not, he has gleaned what he has needed to serve that role. But externally, what had to happen for him to get there, that is not going to resolve itself easily. There is a sort of weird pas de deux going on between Herman and Mouch that results in some scenes that have a tension or a vibe that we've never seen between those two characters before. And it's been a lot of fun to play.
Good tea.
I would say more if I could. Just yell it.
My question is for Andrea. What I was wondering, you talked about the evolution of the character. We're on season 14 now. When progressing into a new season, is it always looking about where they were when they first joined, or is it always just looking forward from where they were in that previous season?
Good question. It's obviously it's both to some degree. It's like we say, a gift to have that many years and to watch the characters evolve. But the trick always, certainly as writers, but even just as viewers, you want to see a whole new version. You want to see something new, see something thrown at them that hasn't. Like the perfect example is the Mouch Herman. They're so close and they're best friends. And how do we mess that up real good?
Mhm.
How do we put a throat
How much
in
can
that?
that
Yeah,
relationship
how much is it
endure?
gonna take? And honestly, that's part of the kid Severide family stuff too, is like what can we do that really puts them in a whole new position, something they didn't expect, something they didn't see coming. So it's looking ahead, but it's using what we are so lucky to have, which is this deep, deep foundation of 14 seasons to propel us into what's going to come next and what's something we haven't seen before. And it's funny that we have the cast for this, but sometimes will be a scene. We were realizing like a couple years ago is like Violet and Severide have never had a scene together.
Yeah.
They've got a scene together, and so that's a dynamic. And so there's always a new fresh note
I love
to
that.
play
I love
with, which
that.
is yeah, to see what these new two characters will do when they're together in this kind of situation. So yeah, it's both. But good question.
That was a very well phrased
Thank
question.
you.
Yeah, it made me
Thank
think.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have technically killed or almost killed Mouch, I feel like every other season for the last like
Mhm.
decade. So
Necessary every time.
how much trouble physically is he in this season, or can we finally get this dude a break and a lovely beverage?
Well, I think that, there's everybody can only hold a certain amount of blood. You've lost a lot. So I feel like we've got, if we do, I think we're at a pint and a half. So we got to
Yeah.
keep him under a pint and a half. If we can lose a pint this year, but then he's gone, then he's dead. So we're going to try to keep it at a pint. That's what I'll say. Do it.
I
Go.
love the new addition of Sal Vasquez to the
Yeah.
firehouse. What kind of challenges or maybe even tension does he stir in the crew?
Yeah. Vasquez is a very interesting character and is going to really do some turning the house upside down. He's got a backstory that we hint at in the first episode, but he's got some first responder family that is going to come in and kind of mess with the firehouse, and he's going to mess with the firehouse. And his dynamic with Kid is going to be kind of at the center of the first bunch of episodes because she's had her hands full before, but this is a different kind of challenge. This is somebody who authority is he's not the guy who goes along and gets along. He's had, as we learn early, he's had some trouble before and he's gotten bounced out of a lot of firehouses, and now Kid may be just the lieutenant he needs, but only if they can both handle each other.
And he's a good actor and he's got abs.
Yeah, that is a true fact. That is a true
The
fact.
two requirements for Chicago.
Well, they're not entirely requirements, I can assure you.